Yes, lot of leadership books we have read. Can you raise how many, like 10 books? 10 books on leadership. Who has read 10 books at least? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, my question is that how many leadership books are there in the market? Any wild guess? I want to hear from you. Any wild guess? How many books are there? 1,000? Little more. Billions? 4.8 billion books are there on leadership. Can anyone tell me why we have written so many books on leadership? We don't write that many books on gravity. Why we are writing on this? We don't write that many books on geography or any other thing because we have still not figured out what is leadership. And the reason is that, one, we are yet to figure out. The second reason it keeps evolving. It keeps changing every time with every generation, the way things are happening. Leadership keeps evolving. That's the reason we'll keep writing books. So if you want to write a book and the best-selling author write on leadership, it will be best-selling anyways. We are going to discuss a couple of things about the neuroscience of leadership. But before that, I want to talk about three main things. What are the misconceptions about leadership? Have you heard from someone, we should lead from the front? Just raise hand if you have heard this one. Or some says, like a golf example is, we should lead from the back. The leader is always at the back. Some says leader has to be in the middle with the touch with the ground reality, and you need to know the things. The fact is, neither you lead from front, nor you lead from middle, nor you lead from the end. You lead from inside out. What's happening in your mind is going to impact what happens outside. And I'll give a simple example. If I have orange in my one hand and if I have apple in my another hand, if I'm going to squeeze this orange, can I take the apple juice out of it? No way. And if I squeeze the apple and I try to take out the juice, can I get watermelon juice? There is no way. No matter what I do, what is inside is going to come outside. Right? So we have to be very mindful. By the way, we are going to discuss a lot about fruits. I'm going to use a lot of fruit examples today. So what is inside impacts what is outside. And as a leader, it is so important for us to understand what's happening. 100 billion neurons are inside your brain. They all are living organisms trying to keep you alive and keep you healthy. They are doing their best. 100 living beings are right now working for you. It weighs only 20%, 2% of the body weight, but it consumes 20% of your body energy. So it is the very expensive organ in your body which keeps you alive and happy. Another thing, have you heard this saying? As I was growing up, my mom used to say, and my all bosses and leaders used to say, no one can make you feel anything without your permission. Please raise hand if someone has told you ever in your life till date. Nobody can make you feel, it's your problem. Nobody can make you feel anything until you allow them, you give them the permission. Now, I'm going to do one experiment with you. And this was my reaction. Seriously, and all this life I used to think it's fault with me. Because if somebody has done something, well, I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling guilt about it. Something is wrong with me. I realized I can make all of you feel something without your permission right now. And not because I'm a hypnotherapist. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm certified hypnotherapist, but that's another thing. I don't tell you that one. But still, I can make you feel. You can see lemon right now in front of you. All table is here. I want all of you to hold it. Just take it in your hand. Feel it. Just feel it. Smell it. We know COVID has gone, so we can smell and give to other person, okay? Now, you're holding a lemon in your hand. It smells so citrus right now. You're rolling on the chopping board, and you have a knife in another hand. You're cutting lemon. You have just now cut, and that citrus juice is there, and you can smell it. It's so juicy. Juice is just flowing there. And you take that half piece of the lemon, you squeeze and put in your mouth. What happens? Did you feel some contraction over here? You will be feeling it, right? And I did it without your permission. I did not take permission from you. So you can make anyone feel anything you want them to feel about. Why it is important as a leader? Because, let me tell you one story. George W. Bush, he was at the elementary school. The elementary school name was Emma Booker's Elementary School. He was reading the book, The Pet Goat. Everything was fine, media was there, they were taking photo. Suddenly someone comes to him. He is the chief of information from White House, Andrew Card, and he whispers in his ears, "Nation is at attack. Second tower has been hit, 9/11. If anyone else is there in his place, they will panic." But his reaction was he kept calm. He completed the entire book. He did not react at all. And after reading that book, he went out and he addressed nation from elementary school. Why he did not do that? Because as a leader, if I'm panicking, my team will think if leader cannot handle it, how are we going to handle it? So as a leader, no matter what happens outside, I need to keep calm in my brain. Today morning, we had a situation, and I want to give a round of applause for Gladwin for that one. I was just thinking, oh my God, what are you going to do? The things are not in place. He was calm. He said, it will be done. So please give a round of applause for him as well. Because today morning, he showed that what leadership is all about. He kept calm and he did. The same concept is used in military. No matter what happens, the military officers will never panic. Even if they don't have any arsenal left, enemy is attacking and they are like in a very bad situation, still he or she will say, yes, we will do, don't worry about it. Right? That's what the leadership is. We have to work 99% inside, only 1% outside. Another thing, it's all because of mirror neurons. We all human beings have mirror neurons. Female have more mirror neurons compared to male. And after human being, the second one, apes are having more neurons. But we have the largest number of mirror neurons. And as Dr. Philip has mentioned, empathy is not a soft skill. It's a strategic skill. So we are born with empathy. We are born with mirror neurons. Whatever is Subhash is feeling right now, I can feel that if I'm empathetically connected with him. As a leader, it's important for us to know, because whatever you are doing or whatever you are not doing, it's creating an impact on your team members. And if you connect with them, you can make them perform at their best. I clicked wrong way. Anyways, now you know the answer. So we know we know so many skills are required for leadership. Which one do you think is the most important? Problem solving, responsibility, collaboration, decision making. If you go to Google, they will give all this because I have taken it from Google. Which one do you think is the most important skill? Which one? Problem solving. What else? Decision making. Trust, yes, I clicked that one. Trust is the most important thing. And what is trust in real life? Okay, I trust you, but what does the trust mean? Like I ask people say, I love you. Okay, say, in physical world, how does the love look like? Do we know that? So I want to, in this situation, I want to ask about trust. How does a trust look like in physical world? The first and the most important thing is competency. Leaders need to have competency, of course. Nobody will hire you as a leader or think you as a leader. You will not have any followers if you don't have competency. The basic education, the basic certification, basic skills are required. But that is a bare minimum thing which we are looking for. What is the next thing we look for when we think about trust? Transparency. Transparency. What else? On Monday morning, I'm in a real good mood. You come to me and I'll say, yeah, you can go on leave, no problem. Tuesday morning, moment you come to office and I say, why the hell you were not in office? Why you did not attend it? What is this thing? What is that thing? I'm shouting. Wednesday, I'm very depressed and I'm sad that things are not going well. Do you trust me for that? No. Consistency is so important. Why? Because human brain doesn't like unpredictable things, uncertainties. We hate it. We want to make sure that what is going to happen tomorrow, day after. Do I have job? Do I have food? Is my place safe or not? We want certainty. And your consistency as a leader gives space to your team to know and predict what you want, how will you behave, how will you react. So even if you are evil, consistently be evil. Don't try to become good until you are ready to consistently be good. The third one is care. As Dr. Philip has mentioned, care is the most important thing for human brain. You can be little less competent, perfectly fine. You can be little less consistent, perfectly fine. But if you don't care about me, I'm not going to trust you. I'll give example. Before that, I'll ask a question. How old is human brain? Can anyone tell me? How old is human brain? I'm not asking your age because it is older than that one. How old is human brain? Any wild guess? Just throw any number.
2 million.
2 million? Little more?
8 million.
8 million, 7 to 8 million years back, first human being was walking on this earth. Our brain was evolving, but brain has not evolved as faster as our technology has evolved. So my brain still thinks if I'm coming out of my cave, wearing all the leaves and all those things, and suppose Gladwin is coming out from that side, and his hand has, he's the best hunter in that tribe, in that region, and his hands are hidden behind his back. Now, the first thought that will come to my mind is that, can I trust him? Is he going to hunt with me or is he going to hunt me? I need to be careful about that, right? So trust is the most important thing, and it's hard-coded in human brain. If I cannot trust someone, I'm not going to give my 100% to that team or that leader. We spoke about that the human brain is 7 million year old. So human brain doesn't understand difference between an angry boss, angry manager, angry customer, or the saber-toothed tiger. It's exactly the same thing for human brain. So whenever they see you, like parents, if like child sees parent is angry, for them you are a saber-toothed tiger at that moment of time. You are no more a parent for them. So what happens? We expect them to have a calm and like a saint reaction, but they will have something like this: fight, flight, or freeze. Either they will fight with you if they are teenagers, like I have a teenager daughter sitting with me and I can say she fights with me, or we can have a flight. They'll just run away, or sometimes they'll just freeze and listen. Yes, that's what's happening, but we don't know what to do. We don't want that response because they will not perform at their best if they are having this kind of response. So let's understand a little bit about human brain. This is your eye. Now, right behind the eye, I have this model with me, the brain model over here. So I'll give it to you, and please pass it on to different tables. If you can please give it. And you all can see this one. The black color dot you can see, it's the amygdala, which I'm going to talk about. So you can give to all tables and they can pass it on. Now, right behind your eyes, there is an almond-shaped two organs are there. It's called as amygdala. They are two, but for some reason they call it singular. So amygdala is there, and amygdala is like a paranoid security guard. He is super paranoid. He's scared of everything what is happening around. So what happens when okay, I want to take your right hand and put here. This part of, all of you just put here. This is your brain stem. This part is responsible for your kidney function, your liver function, your heart function, your movement, your locomotion, everything. This part is responsible. It's called as brainstem. It is one of the oldest brain part in human evolution. The next part is right behind your eyes over here. So you can touch me here. This part is called as emotional brain. It has all feeling, emotion, memories, good and bad, everything is there. And the next one is the prefrontal cortex. This part is here, very new, very rational, very smart, something like AI. This kind of brain is there. Now what happens when I see an angry boss? Signal goes from my eyes to my amygdala. So paranoid security guard, it has to go through security first. Security guard cannot keep all information, so it gives to library. Library is your hippocampus. It has all information from your birth, even before that, because genetically whichever is passed on to you, that information is there. It refers to that, and library says this angry person is not an angry person, it's a saber-toothed tiger. He or she is going to eat you. You have to run away from that. What will happen? The signal will not go to prefrontal cortex. It will go to brainstem, this part of the brain, because this part is responsible for protecting you. Human brain is not evolved to get more salary, look good, get married, have children. Of course, have children is one part of it. Human brain is evolved only to protect you and reproduce. That's the only two job of human brain. That your brain doesn't care about anything else. And right now, when they see saber-toothed tiger, they want to protect you. So they'll send signal to this part of the brain. what will happen? I'm thinking response. I'm not making a good choice. I'm panicking. I'm going to either fight with that person, argue, but I'm not going to think rationally. What if there is a way I can send signal to more rational brain so that I can take a more thinking response? There is a way. What to do? Can anyone guess what it is? Super simple way. Just pause for 6 seconds. Because it takes 6 seconds for security paranoid to re-refer the library and send it to prefrontal cortex so that it can take a right decision and say, don't worry, it's not a saber-toothed tiger, it's just an angry boss. He or she has not seen the report. Let me point it out for that person. Simple. Pause for 6 seconds. And when you want to shout at your team, just take a pause for 6 seconds. This is as simple as that, but still we don't do that one. Now, the next is, so we have seen, it's a midpoint of this one, so let's do the quick revision. M is for, what did we discuss with the M? Mirror neurons, right? Come on, what did we hear from, what did we discuss related to I? It's an inside-out journey. What's happening inside is so important. It doesn't matter how many books you're reading. If you're not working inside your brain, you don't know how the brain connection is there, what is the process, what are the neurotransmitters. When you shout at someone, what happens? You're not going to be the best leader. T. Trust. Yes, who said trust? Wonderful. I love you. So MIT, please remember, now we'll get another degree from MIT in a while. We'll talk about the neuroplasticity. You know anything about neuroplasticity? Did you touch the brain which I gave you? It was a little soft, right? Its neuroplasticity is made of two words, neuron and plasticity. Plastic means it can be molded, it can be changed. So your brain is constantly changing right from your birth till what age? Till what age? 15? No? More? Till you die, it keeps changing. So science has proven that you can learn anything at any age. There is no limit of age, and that's a good news for us because you can join for courses anytime. Okay? Now, the best part of the neuroplasticity is that there are two types, and I'm going to share a very interesting case study with you. The first one is the experiential neuroplasticity. Do you know the London taxi driver, they are little special than rest of the world. What is special about them? They are? They have stronger memory, yes. What's your name? Wali. Thank you so much. Let's clap for him because he gave the answer to us. Thanks, Wali. They have a part of a brain which is responsible for having a better memory, which is responsible for the navigation. So the name of that I always forget. I have written over here. It's a larger posterior hippocampi. That's a part of the brain which is much bigger in London taxi driver compared to everyone else because the roads are very narrow there. They have to navigate it. So around the globe, they have the largest part in that one, and that helps them. Why did it become big? Because they are driving there for more than 10 and 15 years. That's the reason. Another one is the brain function moves from damaged place to another part. So in China, there was a lady. She around early 30s, she went to doctor and she said, I'm feeling a bit giddy. Can you please scan and tell me? They scanned, they couldn't find anything. When they did fMRI, functional MRI, that time they found that this part of the brain, which is responsible for locomotive, like locomotion, locomotive organ, that part is not there. And they were shocked that how is she able to even walk because she's walking for last 30 years. So they went to her mom and asked, and she said that she was not walking for 8 or 9 years, and after that suddenly she started walking. So when scientists did again fMRI, they found out that the part of the brain which is responsible for movement, it's not there. So brain took 9 years to develop the part over here, and now this part of the brain is taking care of locomotion. So this is the magic of like neuroplasticity. You don't have to worry. Your brain is trying to keep you alive and healthy to its best possible capacity. And there is a book called The Brain's Way of Healing by Dr. Norman. It's a wonderful book. This story is from that. So you can hear a lot of stories from that book if you're interested to hear that. So any part of the brain, if it's the damage, your brain will make sure that function goes to other part of the brain. And this looks so cute, right? Neuroplasticity doesn't work when you're studying or learning something. It works when you sleep. So a good 8 to 10 hours sleep is so important for you as a leader and for your team members as well. Because if you're not sleeping and constantly learning, the brain is not getting time to do the housekeeping and restore things and reconfigure it. So sleeping is 80% of the neuroplasticity. 20% is only learning. So read one page, sleep for 2 hours. Now quickly we'll touch upon some of the neurotransmitters. You would have heard somewhere because nowadays everyone is talking about it. Endorphin, dopamine, oxytocin, oxytocin, serotonin and cortisol. So endorphin, does anyone know about that one? Endorphin, have you heard?
They're like natural opioids.
Yes, they are like natural painkillers. Have you seen some video that the baby goes for injection and the doctor is like doing some jokes and making some funny faces and then they give injection and baby doesn't feel it? Actually, it works. If you have a big surgery, God forbid, I don't want that to happen, but if you have surgery or you have to see doctor or anything, watch 3 or 4 comedy movies and then go. You will require very less dose of painkiller. Endorphin is a natural painkiller of human brain, and we get it simply by laughing. It's so simple. Now, as a leader, why it's important for us to know when your team is laughing, they are enjoying, they are having fun, they have a good relationship with each other, they will fall sick less. And good news for HR, your insurance policy bill will go down because they are falling less sick, so you can save a lot of money from that. So just make them laugh, go and laugh and have fun with that one. And it builds trust in the team. The next one is dopamine, reward hormone. When you appreciate someone, give them a good position, clap for them. Like we clap for Bali right now, and I can guarantee if you measure his dopamine is a little bit higher than what it was before that. So appreciate people, recognize for their efforts. We don't have to wait for a big win. We can appreciate small wins as well. It works for self-achievement. Now, it's a bit tricky one because dopamine is as addictive as cocaine. So you would have seen workaholic people. They get addicted to dopamine. Once you do something, you get the dose of it, you do more work, you get it more, and they get into the cycle of it. So we have to be a little mindful. I'm a kind of little workaholic and I'm still working on that one to overcome that. Oxytocin, love hormone. When you shake hand with someone or you pat it over here or you pat their back, they get the oxytocin. When you give a hug, but you have to be culturally sensitive. Don't go after this session, don't go and keep giving hug to everyone. You will be in jail. And then you will say, Neetu told us to get oxytocin. If you get oxytocin in the wrong place, police will give you cortisol. So don't blame me for that one. Now I want you to all shake hand with the person sitting next to you and let's give oxytocin to each other. Just quickly, 1 second activity. Just shake hand and see something good if you know that person. See, when you are happy, you cannot frown like this, right? You have to smile. That's the body's way of doing it. Oxytocin is little selfless. Then serotonin. It's about when anyone calls me too, you got the leadership position, you are senior manager of our company. I feel so proud about it. That time my brain is giving me serotonin. So it's achievement kind of a thing and it keeps us healthy. By the way, ladies, please pay attention. Serotonin plays a significant role during our menopause. So we have to be very careful with that one. Cortisol. Who thinks cortisol is a bad thing? Because it's a stress hormone. Poor guy, he got a bad name for some reason. Who thinks cortisol is good? Nobody thinks. Who thinks cortisol is bad?
We need that step in our human as well.
Yes, we need exactly. What's your name? Abdul Rahman. Let's clap for him. We do need cortisol for our waking up. If cortisol is not there, I'll just sleep. I'll not even wake up from my bed, right? That rush is required. Do you know the most number of inventions are done during the World War? That doesn't mean to invent something. We need to have war, but during the time of problem and crisis and stress, we become more innovative. We become more creative. We become more resourceful, right? So cortisol is required for making us perform little better. Like me and Dr. Bond were having discussion and he asked, Neetu, you have spoken for so many times. Do you still feel scared? I said, of course. When I come on stage, my mouth is dry. I'm having butterfly in my stomach still. And that helps me to perform better every time and be more prepared. Otherwise, I'll take things for granted. So dopamine and cortisol is necessary for individual survival, and the oxytocin and serotonin is required for community. And as a leader, you need all these combination for yourself. Now we'll talk about the male and the female leadership. Do you think they have different different style or they are same? Because lot of talk is going on. Leader is a leader. He or she is not a male or female leader. Do you think they are same, like they are at par and equal and same? Please raise hand if you feel they are same. Okay, please raise hand if you feel they are not same. See, they are different. They are different, yes. And how they are different?
Oh my God, just in the makeup. Just
Yes.
the day of a male and female.
Exactly. Let's clap for Tom Elliott. They are different at the very DNA level. They are so different from each other. And let's see how evolution has played role. But let me make guy sitting over here little happy. Male brain is bigger, 9% bigger than female brain. Are you happy? See? Even if we correct by size, still the male brain is 9% bigger than female brain. So I can see all males are smiling. Let me ruin their smile now. Male and female have same number of neurons. In fact, some studies show female have more neurons than male. This means, ladies, let's clap for yourself. Our brain is more organized and compact. So we are more organized, they are more disorganized. That's why they require more space for less number of neurons.
You know, the brain weight for men is 1.5 kilos. It's more than the weight naturally.
That's interesting. That's interesting. You know, and the best part is that there are 30,000 genes in human genome and only 1% difference is there. But as Toniel said, that 1% makes a huge difference the way we look at things and the way we see world and our leadership style. So first let's understand quickly that how male and female are evolved. Male is evolved for going out and field hunting, fighting with saber-toothed tiger, big mammoths and all those things. While the female physically, she is not strong enough. So what is her strategy? Be together. Because when we are together, we are stronger. So female brain is naturally evolved to have community, to have a tribe, take care of each other. She is very good in emotional intelligence because she has to take care of a baby who doesn't speak, and with the expression and sound and body gesture, she has to understand what is problem with them. She is very good at smelling because fruit she has to smell and find out it's good to give to a baby or not. She has to take care of old people. So she is very good with diversity. Male finds it difficult because they go with the same group outside for hunting. So male and female have evolved extremely different from each other. Although we were like living together, but our worlds were entirely different for 7 million years, not 1 or 2 days. So it had a huge impact on us. Now when it comes of, Dr. Philip has mentioned about the risk and creativity and care. So care we have touched upon. When we talk about risk, do you think male and female take different kind of risk and they have different appetite for risk?
Yes.
How different it is? Yeah.
You know, because once again, because we look at our perspectives are different. So you
Yes.
take risks based on your mental perspective. So if we're looking at things in a different manner, our reactions are going to be different.
That's right, that's right. So male, when they were going out and doing hunting and they have to make a quick decision. So ladies, give me a shout if you go to your husband, if you're married and go to your husband or father or brother, you want to discuss a problem and they say, what do you want to do? Just leave the job and sit at home, or what do you want to do? Just throw paper on your boss's face and come. They want the solution, but female want to discuss. Please give me a shout out if you face this problem, because I face it a lot. I want him to listen to me and he wants to come to conclusion. But it's very natural. He's out in the field hunting. He doesn't have time to sit and discuss. Tiger will eat him. Of course, he has to make quick decisions. We ladies, we were sitting in a tribe discussing, making food and taking care of children. We had enough time to discuss and bond with each other. And that is the reason male have facial hair. Female don't have. Why? Because when they are out in the field, they want to hide their expression. And that's the reason evolution has given facial hair to male but removed from female, because we want to see each other face and understand how you are feeling by reading your expression. Do you know that by teenage, when the boys are 13 to 17, When they are very young, they are very expressive. Suddenly they become less expressive because the brain tells them the facial muscles becomes little harder. So even if they are feeling pain for their mom is sick, they are not able to express it. So don't think your son is not taking care of you. His brain is telling him not to express on his face. It's not his fault. And we can go on and on for this evolutionary thing, how male and female are very different from each other. But in favor of time, let me quickly talk about it. When it comes to risk, male thinks about likelihood. What is the result? What is the outcome I'm going to get? So they think about finances, physical growth, and physical things and growth. So market expansion, venturing into new market, launching a new product, having new supplier or vendor. That's what they think about. In the same place, female thinks about people, safety, sustainability. She thinks about, if I launch this product, how my customers are going to feel about it. Is it the right time to launch? Is the operations team really ready for it? So she thinks about the impact. Male brain thinks about the likelihood of it. At the time of crisis, the risk-taking capacity of male increases because they think that if they risk more, they'll get out of it more things. But female risk capacity reduces because she wants to preserve what is available. She doesn't want to risk the remaining grains. She has to feed younger children, she has to feed old people, so she doesn't want to risk what is remaining. So that's a different way of looking at the risk. Why it is important for you to know? If you're making an enterprise risk committee, please make sure it has a right balance of male and female. The next is negotiation. Who's better negotiator? Male? Raise hand if you feel males are better negotiators. Okay, so rest of you think that female are better negotiators. I will say teenagers are better negotiators. No matter what the gender is, teenagers are the better negotiator. Let me tell you, female are very good negotiators if they are negotiating and defending someone else. They are not good at defending themselves or negotiating for themselves. Male are very good at negotiating for themselves, but they are not as good as for their team. So if female is going, like if you're going for a salary negotiation, think of yourself as a third person. Don't think of yourself as a first person. The moment you think of yourself as a third person, your brain will start getting all those ideas and you'll be very strong and give justification why you deserve that salary. Gladwell is going to kill me after this because I'm giving salary negotiation ideas. And male, if you want to negotiate for someone or defend your team, think your team is you are part of that. So you will be able to negotiate better for them than for yourself. This is a human evaluation. We have seen that how our brain size has changed right from where we started and where we are. And let's have a quick revision. M, what was that? Mirror neurons, yes. I, inside out. T, trust. Empathy, evolution actually. Male and female, we are different. And N, neuroplasticity is simple. I want to see from backside. T. Neurotransmitter, yes. Neurotransmitter, you're listening. Neurotransmitter is so simple. This is the essence of neuroscience of leadership. Again, it's a very big topic. We can talk for 2 hours about this one. So, leadership is an inside-out journey. What's happening inside your brain is so important. Focus on that and outside things will start falling in place. Thank you so much. I love you all.